What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to bitcoineasy.io and another Bitcoin analysis. Today we're also adding the market cap analysis for total 2, and total 3 for the crypto market, and looking exactly at whether the bottom is likely to be in, or if we can see more, or if we can expect some more downside. And yeah, guys, here one of my first streams, so cut me some slack. It's not going to be perfect, as usually I'm used to editing the videos afterwards, but I'll try my best. And yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Should I do this more often, or do you prefer the more edited version of the videos, where I get all the stuff, focus on all the stuff that's really important? Of course, here's a lot of stuff that I won't be cutting out on the videos. I do it differently. I do a lot of editing to make sure that it's really focused on the really important stuff. But yeah, guys, in the background, so you can see it already. We're looking at the total market cap for crypto on the monthly chart, and I'll be going through the larger time frames here on the market cap, and then go down to Bitcoin as well and see exactly what's going on there for the short term. So let's start here, move my face out of the way so you can exactly see what's going on. And here you can see that we're in a massive uptrend here. We're connecting the bottoms here from the bear market of 2020 after that massive crash back in March, and then the bottoms here from the bear market of 2022. And now we can see that it's connecting really nicely at the bottom here with this key area as well, which we'll get to in a second. But the main thing is here now that we're looking at the horizontal levels. As I always tell you guys, focus on horizontals over diagonals any day. It's way more important to identify trend reversals this way, as these trend lines, they can be adjusted and vary across different time frames, and often even different traders use them for different patterns and different connecting points, right? So really important here to focus on the horizontals. And there we can see that we found a really nice support level, a key support level here, consisting of the prior range highs here before we put in the current all-time highs here for the total crypto market cap. And now we're sitting right between there and the previous cycle highs here. So obviously the thing that we want to do here now to reclaim this level, the previous cycle high, right around just under 3 trillion here for the market cap. And then we want to cross above there, turn that into support, and that would send us here back to challenging our current all-time highs here. So really interesting spot, and we will look at it on a smaller time frame in a second as well from a trend perspective. And there you will see that we have very, very strong support also from diagonal levels and from moving averages here. And then if we look now at the total 2, for example, we can see that that's pretty much underperforming. And total 2, for the ones that don't know, that's the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, but including Ethereum. And Ethereum obviously underperforming massively this cycle so far. And therefore we haven't even managed to break the previous market cap tops here. If we look at the altcoin market, including Ethereum, if we look at the total market cap excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin, total 3, then we can see that we already printed a new all-time high. But that gives you also a really clear image of how badly Ethereum is performing in the cycle. I covered it yesterday. I looked at Ethereum with you guys on the larger time frames as well. And there we saw that after the monthly candle closed here a couple of days ago, right, we put in a massive bullish candle here, potentially indicating that the bottom is in for Ethereum now as well. And hence, yesterday I spoke about it, that it's likely that Ethereum starts following Bitcoin now, because we're coming out of a massive spot, massive support level here. You can see key area of interest. And if you want to see this broken down in detail, make sure to check out the video from yesterday. There I covered Ethereum throughout different time frames as well. So yeah, guys, we can see it here very clearly. Strong support level across the board here for total 2 and total 3. And we see very bullish candles, very similar to what we saw from Ethereum yesterday here on total 2 and total 3. And then if we include Bitcoin here, it looks even more bullish, right? We can see here also from a trend perspective that it's a very likely area for a bottom. And that becomes even clearer now here on the weekly chart. If you look at this moving average here, for example, this is the 50 SMA here. And that has been a massive indicator for bottoms here throughout the bull market, whenever we were correcting, and also when we crossed back above it and turned it into support, we confirmed that our bear market bottoms were in, and that we continued upwards from there. Really, really strong support and really key indicator. And we can see that we had a bit of a scare here. We recently fell below it, but reclaimed it now, confirmed the reclaim, and are now moving upwards to this key area of interest here. of course challenging the prior all-time high here like we just saw on the monthly chart. And if we get above that key area here, right, if we make it back above 3.2 trillion and close above there on a weekly closing basis, then we have very clear indication here that we're going up to challenge the current all-time highs and that the cycle is continuing here to new all-time highs for Bitcoin and altcoins as well. And then we can see here these trend lines as well lining up perfectly with these areas here from the previous range. You can see we had a very clear downsloping trend line here. The moment we broke back above it, that is when we also then continued upwards to print new all-time highs here. Very similar for Bitcoin. Of course, this is including Bitcoin, and Bitcoin represents about 2/3 of the market cap for the total market cap for crypto. And therefore, we're in a very similar spot right here. And here you can see it, although Bitcoin has already broken out of the diagonal trend line, right? We've been watching that falling wedge pattern for a couple of months, and we saw that now on a horizontal and diagonal level, we have a clear breakout. And this is what we want to achieve here as well, right? We want to break this trend line alongside with this key area of interest, and then we have very, very clear signs that we're moving up from there. Also here from a trend perspective, you can see the black trend line here. Very similar to something that we saw in the previous cycle. I will look at it in a second, but actually this time around we look way more bullish. So if you look at it here, we are utilizing the 50 SMA, the weekly SMA here as support in alignment with this diagonal trend line here. And there also from this perspective here, this coming from the bear market lows here, basically, or just above there. This is after we cleared from the bear market lows when we came back above the 50 SMA and we started this uptrend here. You can see we have these 3 connecting points here that really cleared or marked the bottom here throughout the cycle so far. So very, very good spot here for a continuation. Now, if we would get rejected here now and we would get a clear indication that the bear market is in here and that was just a dead cat bounce, then we would expect the rejection here right from this area, right around $3 trillion here for the market cap. This would be 3.3 to 3.1 trillion is what we expect here for a dead cat bounce. But if we start clearing this area once again here, also very strong resistance, of course, coming from the prior range lows here on a closing basis. And then the trend line here, this is exactly what we want to close back above here, right around 3.2 trillion. Once Bitcoin and the market cap follows and goes back above there, then we have a strong indication that we're continuing upwards in this trend here. Then to the downside, of course, the current range here, the range lows right around 2.46 trillion. That is the bottom here. We don't want to see any closes below there. We can see a wick down there, but we don't want to see a close below there. Otherwise, we have very strong indication here that this trend line is also breaking and that we're going down here, at least to this key area of interest towards $1.8 to $1.7 trillion for the market cap. And then from there on, we can expect to find a bottom somewhere and go into our next cycle. But yeah, guys, from this perspective, you can see very, very clear here that this cycle is continuing still. And then if you compare it to the previous cycle and we look at this trend line here and also the moving average, after we put in the 69K top area here and the $3 trillion top for the market cap, you can see that this trend line, very similar to the one that we've been looking at here, the black one, right? After it bounced here, after we had 2 connecting points and then we tried to bounce off it, we fell below it, had 2 rejections on that trend line and then went down to print our bear market lows. And that, of course, here came in perfect alignment with the 50-week SMA as well, that then turned into resistance. We couldn't clear back above it, confirm back above it. And this time around, you can see that we clearly now got back above it, confirmed it as support by following up with another bullish candle that, of course, still needs to be confirmed here. We still have about 2.5 days left in this weekly candle, but then of course, if that continues upwards here and we stay bullish with this candle, then we have a very clear continuation pattern here after breaking back above it, and then we can expect to continue upwards. And like I said just now, it becomes really interesting in this area here between $3 and $3.2 trillion for the market cap. And then if we look at the total 2 here, you can see that everything is looking way more bearish because this is, of course, excluding Bitcoin. Bitcoin still leading the market, looking way more bullish than everything else, as we have to look at it from a logical perspective as well, right? Smart money doesn't enter the altcoins and meme coins really before Bitcoin leads the way and shows that basically that it's safe, that they can follow, that there's nothing ahead of us. And once we broke major resistance levels after a correction, then usually if money flows into Ethereum and altcoins as well, and then it follows up. So there we can see it very clearly here from this perspective. If we would look at this, we would have a very comparable scenario to what we had in the previous cycle here, after we tried to stay above this moving average, the 50-week SMA, but then eventually managed to break below it and got rejected by it the first time, just like here in January 2022. And now it becomes interesting if we can clear here the $1.1 trillion mark for the market cap, excluding Bitcoin, but including Ethereum, and then it would look very bullish as well. And that, of course, is very likely now, since Ethereum put in such a strong signal that the bottom is in for Ethereum as well for this correction, and that we have at least a short-term rally here for Ethereum in the near future, right? And then if you look at it without Ethereum, the market cap, just altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, in the total 3, there you can see that we look way more bullish as well here from this perspective. We're sitting above the moving average. We're holding the trend line here as well. We have a very similar comparison to the other chart that we saw, the total market cap, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, since Bitcoin, of course, looks way more bullish than anything else, or most things in the charts right now. Of course, there's exceptions like SU and other altcoins that are looking really, really strong. But here, what we want to see now, of course, is a continuation upwards as well. We want to break through this key area of interest here, above $850 billion here for the total 3 market cap, and that would send us upwards towards about $100 billion here then, and then towards the previous all-time highs as well. And from this perspective, we can see as well that on this chart, altcoins, the altcoin market without Ethereum has already reached a new all-time high as well and broken the previous cycle tops. So yeah, guys, this is looking really good here right now. And then also if we look at some oscillators here on the weekly, we can see that the total market cap here, total 1, is moving back up, coming out of oversold territory here, crossing back above the moving average here. And there we can see previous instances here where we had massive rallies after that, like here as well in this bull cycle, and other examples. You can just track that back. You can see that with a high percentage was always followed by big rallies, and that's what we can expect now here as well. And of course, it becomes important that we cross here the middle band as well, right around the 0 level. And if we get above there, then it's very likely that we go at least here towards the 40 level and close to the overbought territory. And that's where it becomes interesting then if we continue upwards and break the current all-time highs here. RSI looking very similar as well here. We can see here that we just crossed the middle band and the moving average as well. And historically, when that happened, we saw massive rallies as well. So really, really strong indication here on the larger time frames for the total market cap. And we can expect to see a little bit of a continuation here, at least for a short-term rally. And then it becomes interesting, like I said, here in the $3 trillion to $3.2 trillion territory. If we can break that, then of course, it's very clear indication that this cycle continues to new all-time highs here. Right, guys, let me just adjust my seating position for a second before I fall off the chair here and I get into Bitcoin now. So this, I think it's very clear, guys, looking very bullish, looking very, very much like the bottom is in here for the market cap right now. And now what we're going to do is look at Bitcoin. So starting out on the largest time frame here, the weekly chart. And from this perspective, we can see that we have a very nice candle here, currently breaking the 61.8. This is, of course, the key level that we spoke about in yesterday's video for Ethereum and Bitcoin as well. Every time we break through the 38.2, right, you can see that we've been rejected here at the 38.2. There's, of course, the Fibonacci retracement from the current downtrend here, from the all-time high to the current bottom. And there we saw that the 38.2 was giving us major resistance for a few months here, or a couple of months. And once we broke through it, then of course we know that the 61.8 has a massive hit rate. And that is exactly the spot where we closed the weekly candle below last week. Now we're sitting just above it. And of course, we're trying to reclaim this range here as well now. That becomes clearer in a second on the smaller time frames. And then if we clear above there, then of course, I told you guys on the daily chart, if we see a close above, let me just see, actually, I posted about it yesterday on the 4-hourly chart, actually. Here, Bitcoin is looking for a 4-hourly close above 95,400 to confirm a continuation towards the 98 to 100K range. And of course we did that, and we came almost all the way up towards 98K. We closed yesterday, I think the highest point was right around 97,500 or something. We'll get to it in a second. But yeah, guys, quick reminder here as well. If you're not doing it already, make sure to follow me over on X. This is how you can stay up to date with my analysis, the easiest way to catch all my updates. And yeah, guys, like I said here in the schedule as well, that I posted a few days ago. Of course, I made some adjustment and I will post the updated version of it today, actually. And there I told you guys that Tuesdays and Fridays, I would normally be posting videos here on X as well. I will adjust this. Friday will be on YouTube as well, as we will do in the future, the trading one-on-one on Fridays. And then I will pick another day where I will also be streaming on X or posting videos on X. The streaming for now is just a bit of an exception for today, as I had a lot of stuff going on and I didn't have time to record the video and edit and all of that stuff. So most likely one of the days on the weekend I will be posting here on X as well. Right, guys, so of course, if we close above here now and break this range as well and the 61.8, then our next target would be up here, somewhere around 102K, which is also a very strong area of interest. You can see here from a closing basis with a bunch of touch points here in this area. And then if we start closing above here, right above 102,700 for a Bitcoin here on a weekly closing basis, then we're set here to challenge our previous all-time high on a closing basis, and above 104K, there's nothing in our way here. And then we probably headed up towards the 120K area. I will get into my targets here for the cycle top in a short while, in the next week or so. I'm setting up a video here on the larger time frames and using some really, really clean indicators that have helped me to identify previous cycle tops. And yeah, we'll look at exactly what the potential for that is as well. And I actually posted a video back in March 2022, I think it was, on TradingView, a video that went viral and where I spoke about the next cycle top. And I said that it's very likely that we're going to see a Bitcoin price of 160K. And people were basically throwing eggs and tomatoes at me back then, saying that that's crazy, that Bitcoin is going to zero. And that was, of course, right at the time when the whole Ukraine situation started. And yeah, guys, I will make sure to post a link to that video over on X later on, so you can check that out. That video went really well. It became an editor's choice on TradingView twice. And yeah, make sure to check that out. I covered a lot of stuff there that actually turned out to be very, very correct and happened afterwards. And in this cycle, we're on the way to those targets as well. Of course, there's no guarantee that we make it all the way up to 160K, but it's looking very good that we see a much higher price target than the current all-time high still. So yeah, guys, let's shift down into the smaller time frames here now for Bitcoin and see exactly what is going on the 3-day chart as well, which of course is not closing today, but tomorrow. So actually, let's skip that one and go into the 2-day chart here, which we see is closing tonight, simultaneously with the daily chart. And there we can see here that we're sitting above this key level here. This is a level that, of course, comes from the prior range closing lows here, right at 95,700. And if we see there that Bitcoin closes above there, then of course it's very likely that we visit the previous range highs of that range here. And there we can see that's where my prediction came from yesterday, that we're going up towards somewhere between 98 and 100K here, which of course have been the previous range highs here after we lost that key level up here. So I'll get into that in the daily chart in a second. There we can see it very clearly. And there's something that I spoke about a couple of months ago back in February, where I told you guys if we lose that certain level here and start closing within this range on a daily closing basis and don't just shoot a wick down there and rally back up, then that's likely that we go down to 72 and 74K, which of course that range is our current bottom range here with the price of 74,400 currently. So yeah, guys, all looking very good. This, of course, a lot of people have been questioning whether this is just a relief rally or dead cat bounce. And now we're actually in a spot where it becomes decisive here, whether we're continuing upwards or potentially going down again and then seeing some sideways and downwards action throughout the summer. But for now, if everything would close like this here on these major candles, we have very strong indication that we're continuing upwards here, at least for the next couple of weeks here. And the myth of sell in May and stay away gets busted in that way. But of course, as we know in crypto, that's not always the case. In stock markets and so on, that's way more accurate, that we usually are best off to sell in May and then come back after the summer and pick up our long positions from there again. But right now it's looking like we have a really, really nice setup here if we're continuing upwards here and starting to close above key levels here. And it becomes very clear here on the daily chart. Here I want to show you exactly what we did yesterday. This is the key level that I spoke about in yesterday's video and the videos the days before here, where we can see that we had very strong reactions here in this area. We got rejected here multiple times. And this is of course coming from this key area here, this range, where we had massive support right around 95,600. And that's why I told you guys back then here when we were trading in this range, that if we start closing below 95,600, then that it's likely that we will not get a bounce here out of the 91 to 92K range, and that we start closing in there or below there. And if that's the case, then that it's likely that we're going down to our bottom targets of 74 to 72K, which of course then happened. You can see we lost that range here, closed the candle here in that key area, and that was so key because we found multiple bounces here that took us here on massive rallies and to multiple all-time highs. And then of course if we start not bouncing from that area immediately anymore and start closing within that area, then bulls are signalizing that there's not enough demand in the area anymore and that it's a chance for bears to take over and take the price lower. And then of course we reached that key area of interest between 74 and 72K just about. We closed here right at 74,400 and then found a bounce there and continued upwards from there. And now it's very key here, guys, that we stay above this trend, above this diagonal line here, sorry, horizontal line here, and close above here. And then that would take us up here, like I just said, towards 98 and 100K. Yeah, guys, and that's basically it here. Just following up on the post that I put out on X yesterday as well here. This was the clear signal, this candle right here. We broke the prior range highs here on a closing basis, then continued upwards here to our price targets just below 98K. And now it's starting to look a lot like a bull flag here. Of course, we have to see that we stay above the current level of 96,400 on a closing basis, on a 4-hourly closing basis here to continue upwards. Or if we come downwards here and correct a little bit, then this area here becomes massive again. We want to see a retest of the prior highs here and then hopefully find a bounce there and continue upwards from there. And then we can just look at the Fibonacci retracement as well. I'm sure we find a strong level in that area as well. You can see here just above the 38.2 here lining up with the prior range high on a trading basis. And this is then, of course, massive for us if we can stay above there. As we know, the 38.2 always a very strong level if we find a bounce there. In stronger trends, we usually bounce off somewhere between the 38.2 and the 23.6. And the weaker the trend becomes, the deeper we go into the retracement towards the 61.8 and the 78.6 level. And then if we would get down there, of course, to the 61.8 and the 78.6, then everything here, all these tops, where we had massive rejection in this key area of interest up here, would turn back into resistance and it would just make life tougher for the bulls. So ideally, we want to stay above there. Very similar to what we've been speaking about here in previous days, that if we see a bit of a pullback here for Bitcoin, then we don't want to come down to our most logical support area, consisting of the prior range tops here in this 87 to 89K area. We want to stay here somewhere hanging on to the prior lows here from where we bounced multiple times here and not go lower than 91,300 on a daily closing basis. Otherwise, it would become massive resistance again, everything that we just cleared here and confirmed as support again for Bitcoin. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this. This is basically the end here. We have nothing else to cover as far as the Bitcoin chart and the total market cap chart goes. I'll get back into those next week again. Bitcoin, of course, I'll cover tomorrow and most days here on the channel, but I'll make sure to get back into the total market cap and different charts as well, like Ethereum. And then tomorrow we look at Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Bitcoin. On Sunday, we do the weekly close. We look at Bitcoin and exactly the key levels that are important to hold, and also cover some of the important news for the next week and the economic events on the global economic calendar over on bitcoineasy.io and the crypto loop. And yeah, guys, bringing some more variation to the channel. Hopefully you enjoy it and hopefully appreciate some other stuff than just Bitcoin. And let me know in the comments what else you would like to see, what is boring, what is good, what is trending right now. I'm of course also looking at SU. That's a massive one that takes a lot of that gets a lot of popularity right now, and a lot of people are comparing it to Solana and calling it the new Solana. And yeah, that's going to be one that of course I will also include in my analysis, and potentially even tomorrow when I look at other altcoins. So yeah, guys, that's it for me for today as far as YouTube goes. So quick reminder here once again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't heard it yet, or you just tuned in, make sure to follow over on X, Pat.Crypto over there. Easiest way to stay up to date with my analysis. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, like a lot of you are, we had a lot of new followers in the last couple of weeks and last couple of months especially. We went up from somewhere below 100 subscribers on YouTube to almost 2,600 right now. And yeah, of course, I hope it stays like that, that we're growing here steadily. And the more we grow, the more engagement I get on the channel, the more I'm going to do live streams as well. And of course, giving you what you guys want while I'm doing the analysis in the moment. And if you start writing comments and engaging with me on the live streams, then I can also see what you guys want to see, what other altcoins I can cover, and I'll make sure to pick at least one day of the week on each platform to really get into all of your guys' recommendations for my analysis. Right, guys, so that's it for me for today. And as always, happy trading and see you soon.